All right. What's good, everybody? This is Jay Myrax of ultrawest.com. Thank you once again for joining me. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you for watching the replay. This is a replay if you're watching on YouTube as a replay. Otherwise, if you're watching live right now, thank you for joining me. Peace to everybody that's joining me. Just want to get it in tonight, man. It's a lot going on. I got a lot to talk about tonight. I'm going to let a couple people get in the room and then we get started. But, you know, it's been a good day. God is good, man. God is good to me all the time. And, you know, I just want to, let y'all in on some news, some things that's going on. If you haven't already done so, though, if you're watching this right now, make sure that you go ahead and sign up for my free 6-part video course called Sound Mind Sessions. It's available at ultrawest.com. You can check the link in the video description if you're watching this on the replay. And if you're on IG right now, peace to my IG folks, you can check the link in my bio once this stream is over. And go make sure you sign up for it. It's a free 6-part video course for music producers. Tells you a lot of good information about how to succeed, how to make money in the music industry, how to figure out how to progress as a producer, and how to develop your sound, and all kinds of things that are not being commonly talked about. It's being talked about in this Sound Mind Sessions series. So make sure you pick that up. So where's everybody from? We got some folks in here. Let me see. I got produced by HD. What's going on? Peace, family. JJ the Martian. What's going on? I see CX the producer in here. Peace. What's going on with you? What's going on? I see Michael 0297 in the YouTube. Hey, what's going on with you? Mike Checkmate. Peace, man. Appreciate you joining me. Got Renegade. What's going on? Renegade from Canada. We got JJ from New York. What's Your Sound, Patterson, New Jersey. That's what's going on, man. I see Marv up in here. That's what's up. My boy Kalian. Kalian is one of my OGs, man. Like, Kalian is one of the dudes that taught me a lot about music production, man, when I first started. So much respect to the homie Kalian up in here, man. One of my first videos from YouTube actually features Kalian. He was in a different character at that time, but that's my dude from way back. So I appreciate y'all for coming in here. You know what I'm saying? I got Optimo 619 from San Diego. Man, thank y'all. So we got a lot to talk about. If anybody, by the way, if anybody's watching this on YouTube right now, if there's any problems with the audio, please let me know. Type me a message because I'm using a different setup right now. So there might be some things going different with the audio. Hopefully it's good though. But today, yesterday, the True Sound Creators Contest was completed. We ended the contest and we chose a winner. So the winner of the True Sound Creators Contest is my dude Wilder Bear. I think he's out of Ohio, but my dude Wilder Bear had a really dope entry, and he's gonna win the PO14 and the Zoom H1 and a free copy of my ebook, The Sound Mind. So much props to him. Congratulations to him. You know, I'm glad he was able to get it in there, and he really showed me that he was serious about music and sound. And I think that's what I'm trying to promote here, is just uplifting the culture through providing good information about music production and sound, so that we can just have, stronger producers out there, man. I want to inspire the next great producers out there. So, much respect to my dude, Wilder Bear. He's going to win it. He's won, so I'm going to be sending that stuff off to you shortly, man. So thanks for participating in the True Sound Creator Contest. And, on top of that, I wanted to talk to y'all a little bit about what else is going on the website. So we just did that contest. I mean, that won't be the last contest. We're going to have more contests in the future. But you just got to stay tuned to see what else is going to be happening on the website. In the meantime, though, there are some new changes, new things happening. And before I get into all of that, I want to talk a little bit about the video that I did on the MV8800 because it's related, and you'll see why. But some of y'all may have seen that video that I did on the MV8800. And, you know, this is my first time really getting to explore the MV8800. And I always knew it was a beast. Like I read a lot of stuff about it. I knew what it could do, but I never had a chance to really get it in and like use the unit. And, you know, I posted a video of me just exploring it and going through it. And it's a really fun device. It's really dope. It's really full featured. And if you're doing music production and you're into the whole groove box, groove production systems, you really can't beat the MV8800. Even to this day, as a standalone, it has so many relevant features that, you know, it's very hard to say that it's not something that you can use today, because it has audio tracks, time stretch, it has great effects, it has just a great full-on sampler. It has a good amount of RAM, internal hard drive, has a lot of modern stuff that you would use in a music production today. And I think it's a great groove box overall. So I really enjoyed it. Some people are asking me, do I think the sound is great? Yes, the sound is excellent on the MV8800. It has great converters. It has a great sound. The sampler sounds good. I'm 100% happy with my experience with it. I would not sit and compare it to the MPC 4000 or anything like that. I think they're both great, but you know, I think the MV8800 has its own pros and cons. Somebody's asking if that's the one RZA used. I believe he did use the MV series for some time. I'm not sure if he still uses it. I haven't talked to RZA, but I know he did use the Roland MV series at one point. The question has become, though, am I really excited about the MV8800? And because some people were questioning whether I was excited about it, and I wanted to express that it's definitely dope. Really enjoyed it. But that leads me to the next thing that's happening with my website. So over the years, I've dealt with a lot of used equipment. I've got the MV8800 used, but a lot of other stuff that I've gotten in my studio over the years, I've gotten used. And I've worked with a lot of used equipment because, first of all, I think that a lot of this stuff that is really dope, some of that stuff is not in production anymore. So I look to find things that people are not like going after really hard, because I like to have different stuff. But also, like, I love to have classic equipment, and I love to also have just really, really nice quality equipment. And over the years, I've been able to find a lot of great equipment. You know, some of the staples in my studio have been used. But regarding the used market, there's a lot of nonsense out there too. It's, you know, it can be difficult to see who's real and who's not real when you're buying used gear. And I found that in some cases you find people that are legitimate, you know, on eBay and stuff. Sometimes they're legitimate, sometimes they're not. Like, I've had situations where I paid stuff and, you know, they didn't send anything, and I had to do a claim, and it got crazy. And then sometimes I've, you know, had really great transactions on the buying side. I've also done a lot of transactions on the selling side. I've sold everything from, you know, Roland sound modules to MPC 4000s on eBay, and I've had a, you know, great experience as a seller. But as a buyer, sometimes it's hard to find what you're looking for, and sometimes it's just hard to trust. So one of the things that I'm doing on my website now is I'm actually offering a channel for music producers to get used equipment. So with respect to the MV8800, I am going to be offering that on my website. If any of you guys are in the market for an MV8800, it is going to be on my website for sale, along with other used pieces of equipment. And the thing about me with used is, first of all, I will never sell anything, number one, that I wouldn't use. If I don't think it's a valuable product, then I won't sell it. I won't even pick it up, because I like to have stuff that actually has value, stuff that is actually useful for producers. So I'm going to make sure that everything that I have on the site is going to be top quality, is going to be stuff that is going to be definitely 100% working condition, fully tested, fully vetted. And, you know, I'm going to offer that as a service. If anybody's looking for specific gear, let me know through my website, and I'll try to get that stuff, because I know in some markets it can be harder to get certain gear as well. So the MV8800 will be on sale on my website if anybody out there is looking for that. I'm also going to have some other stuff on the website. If you check the website now, I got some new equipment. I have a lot of new equipment that is available for sale on the website, so you should check that out once we get done with the stream. So that's one of the new things we're going to be doing on ultrawest.com, is providing gear for music producers. So just be on the lookout. You know, you never know if you're looking for something, if you're looking for somebody to buy from that is reputable and trustworthy and has experience with shipping stuff the right way, you know, I definitely would say consider us. You know what I'm saying? We got people out here scouring the streets looking for things. You know, we find good deals and we try to offer it to other producers out there. So, you know, check the website. You know, there's going to be more stuff to come. We got the bundles that basically it's a combination of the Sound Mind ebook and the pocket operators. So we got several of those on the website right now. If any producers looking to really get into the world of sound design, I think pocket operators are a really good way to like experience how to start developing sounds, how to start creating sounds on your own. And if you combine that with the Sound Mind ebook, with the information on sound design, because there's a lot of information, like there's several chapters like on sound design for drums and for instruments. And I think when you start combining those two concepts together, you'll be able to come up with a lot of great material. So we got those on the website right now. So if you're interested, check that out. Once the stream is done, we got that. Somebody's asking me if I would consider trades on the website. I wouldn't do trades, but I would definitely, if you're trying to sell something, also let me know, because I would consider that as well. But we definitely won't be doing trades. Trades is not the way that I'll be handling anything. I would only do purchases, but you know, I would say for the most part, if you should just look at the website as a place to find gear, and if you're looking for a specific gear, let me know. So that's that. That's new stuff that's on the website. A lot of new stuff to come. I don't want to spill the beans on everything yet, but that's just a little bit of what's going on. So tonight, what I really want to talk about, I had this email from a music producer that he's an artist, and he was asking me about the different roles in music production, right? So I think a lot of people may not be aware that music production, in the world of music production, has a lot of different roles and a lot of different players involved. It's not just the music producer and the artist and the engineer. I think that a lot of music producers out there may call themselves music producers, but don't necessarily understand that as a music producer, that doesn't require you to do everything yourself. I think great music producers understand the power of delegation. Is anybody having technical difficulties? Because I think some people are saying that they can't see, but let me know. If you're having technical difficulties, let me know. Don't just, yeah, if it's lagging hard, please let me know. I think there is some issues on the stream, but let me know. I see Mr. EA Ski in the building as well in the live chat. What's going on, Mr. EA Ski? Thank you for joining. But yeah, there's a lot of different roles in music production. It's not just that as a music producer, you're responsible for doing everything. And I think smart music producers, those that are capable of getting a lot of stuff done, understand that you got to build a team around you. And it's not that you have to do everything or you should do everything, because in some cases, you may not be the best person for it. In some cases, you may understand the vision and the idea, but you may not have the technical ability or the time to do certain aspects of it. So I would say that if you are thinking about music production in terms of the business, then you, as a music producer, you are in the business of creating final products. You're in the business of finishing records. If you're not doing that, if you're not consistently understanding how to take a record and finish it for consumption by a consumer, then you're not necessarily a music producer. Because there's a lot of us out here that write great music, write great ideas, but don't understand necessarily how to finish it. And then there might be some of us that understand how to finish it, but don't have the time or the drive to finish things. And I think in a lot of cases, that makes certain people that are doing music production or attempting to do music production feel inadequate, because they're not understanding that they're not placing themselves in the best position to win in music production. I think that if you understand your strengths and if you're able to build a team around you based upon, you know, the things that you're lacking within your own abilities, you can get a lot more stuff done. And I think that my guy that was asking the question was asking me, like, what's the difference between a music producer and a sound designer and a composer and all these different things? And I would say that there are some drastic differences between a composer, a music producer, a sound designer, an audio engineer. So I want to break some of that down, okay? So let me start with the composer. What is the composer? A composer is a person that writes music and instrumentation. In a modern sense, a composer would be someone maybe that sits at their DAW with virtual instruments and they create a musical composition. They write music, they may play it, they may draw it in, they may do whatever it takes to realize the melody, the rhythm, and some part or some aspect of the sequence or arrangement. In a lot of cases, they would be capable of doing entire arrangement and orchestrating the music. So a composer is not the same thing as a music producer. Just because you can write a good melody, a good drum track, a good rhythm track, doesn't mean you're producing music, because it's a big difference between writing a composition and finalizing a composition for consumption by the public. Okay, so a composer is a great writer. He's great at orchestration. He's great at coming up with musical ideas. Now, you have other people involved in this whole process of creating music. Another person that you could say is involved is an engineer, and in some cases a sound designer. And I would say even those two things are not the same. a lot of engineers, when we're talking about on the recording side, I would say in the traditional sense, the recording engineer usually played the sound designer for a record, because the recording engineer is responsible for capturing the performances in the best way possible sonically that reflects the intentionality of the song that has been written. So a composer may have written the song, but the recording engineer is responsible for capturing the song in the correct sonic pocket with the correct elements. So that's not the same thing as a music producer either. So that recording engineer may have the technical abilities to dial in the tone. Maybe they understand how to get the correct room for the drum sound, and they understand how to get the correct, levels of compression on the vocals to make them sound correct. The recording engineer is responsible for capturing the performance ultimately. He's the one that is going to make sure that the signal is right, all the signals are clear and clean, or they have the right amount of grit if that's what the intentionality of the track is. If it's supposed to be dirty, then they understand how to create those elements. And in some cases, I would consider that person also a sound designer, but I want to be clear that a sound designer, the word sound or the term sound designer has taken on a new meaning today than it originally meant, because sound design actually comes from the film world more so. So like the sound design is usually the reproduction of the audio for visual or film, like motion picture. So when motion picture is created, there's a lot of sequences in the motion picture that require sound in order to reflect the moment or the visual scene that's being created. So you got to have someone that creates the sound that goes with the motion picture. And that person normally is a sound designer, and that person understands how to record the right things in order to make the correct sounds for the visual. Now, there is an analogy with that when we're talking about sound design for music production, because today what we're dealing with in most cases for electronic music production is that we're dealing with a lot of virtual instruments. We're dealing with a lot of virtual environments that need sounds to represent the place of actual instruments in the context of a production. So most of us are not sitting here with drum sets and guitars and pianos and horns and all that stuff in the studio. Most of us don't have that at our fingertips. Most of us don't play every instrument. But sound design is a supportive role that allows, that understands how to capture the correct sound and put that sound in a context where a composer or music producer can play it as a real instrument within the context of a production. So this person understands what is the right sound for the production in this case. So sound designers are creating and recording sound. So that's why I would say they would have some overlap with a recording engineer, but not in the same context, because nowadays a sound designer may not be a part of the production directly. They may be indirectly, they might be indirectly involved with the production. So the sound design may happen outside of the production process, but the sound design content is used to create the production. So that's the sound designer. You have a music producer. And like I said earlier, the music producer is the person that understands how to finish the records, how to make the record palatable for the public, for consumption, how to create. This person understands all the necessary components to make the song or the production final. So they will be responsible for hiring or delegating tasks to other people like sound designers, recording engineers, artists, songwriters, and whatnot. That person is a great delegator, but that person is also a great visionary, and they understand the potential of a song. So they may get a song from a singer, songwriter, or a composer, and they understand all the necessary components that need to come together to actually make the vision come to life. And that's a lot different than a composer that is just pulling instruments into an environment and orchestrating them. This person that is a producer has to understand what is going to sonically work and also what is going to emotionally work. And I think that is a major aspect of the production process, is understanding how to guide all the personnel that's necessary to create the production in a direction that fits the sonic expectation for the record, but also the emotional expectation of the record. Because if you don't understand all of those components, then you won't get an effective record. You have to understand that people listen to stuff and get an emotional experience with our music. So a music producer understands that and makes sure that the elements that are coming into play with the production also hit a emotional nerve and is meaningful to the person that's consuming it. And that also has to do with the sonics of it. If the sonics are incorrect, then it won't be able to hit the emotional nerve. If the kick is not correct in the mix, then you won't be able to assert the amount of energy or force necessary to get someone to respond emotionally to the track. So there's a lot of psychological and emotional intelligence that a music producer has to have, because they're also working with people that may not necessarily see everything the way he sees it, but he is able to create a coalition around the vision and get people to that finish line to get a finished product out. So that's the difference. And if you guys are still confused, hopefully, I can put a list together with all that information on the site so that you can really go back over that and see these are the different aspects of music production. These are some of the players, and this is what the differences are between these different players. So I think a lot of people out here right now are calling themselves producers and may not necessarily be producers. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think what is bad is if you call yourself a producer, but you're really a great composer and you're trying to take on a whole lot of tasks that you may not be properly equipped to take on, then you may be preventing yourself from reaching your full potential. Because if you're a great composer, you don't necessarily need to focus on music production if working with a whole lot of different people or delegating tasks, or if you don't understand a lot of the sonics and all that stuff, you don't necessarily have to if you work with a producer, for example. Some people are good at programming, but not good at editing and doing the other things that are necessary to finish a track. And some people have a problem with letting go of the stuff that they're working on. Because if you're going to be a good delegator, then you have to understand that letting go is a part of delegation. If you can let go of things and understand, I can't play guitar, but my dude plays guitar great, he can kill it on there, then you let go of that task and you delegate it to someone else, and you give them the vision that you have so that they can go into the production and create the guitar part that you're looking for the production. It's about letting go of certain stuff and understanding who's the best for each situation or each task that's relevant to the production. A lot of us are not producers. Some of us are composers. Some of us are artists, okay? Like some of us really are artists because see, the thing is, as a producer, you also have to be able to realize or understand potential and bring out potential in songs that are in a demo or a rough state. And if that's not something that you're into, or if you're not into taking on jobs, then I think it becomes difficult for you to be a producer. I think some people are happier to work on their own music and not have the constraints of a specific job, like, or a specific gig that may come up. And in that case, I feel like you've got to be willing to say, I'm an artist because I want to create my own thing. I don't want to be bound by someone else's creative vision or creative context for how the production should go. Or I don't want to necessarily create music in this specific lane. I want to be able to expand and do things more, you know, that suit my taste. You may just be an artist, and I think that's okay as well. But I think you shouldn't call yourself a producer. I think if you're an artist, if you're a pure artist, you should be looking to find ways to expand as an artist and develop your artistic side through performance, and also by just making sure that you're creating albums, and maybe work with a producer or work with other people that can help you to develop the album that represents your creative vision. So some of us are artists, some of us are not producers in the most raw technical context. So if you know your role, then you'll be able to succeed better, because it's teamwork with this. It's not that everybody has to do everything in a production. So I wanted to just drop that, and you know, it's about, let's see, 9:30 now. I want to get into some Q&A, guys. If y'all got questions, let's get it in for the next, you know, I might go over tonight, over 30 minutes. I talked a little bit about the website, so I might go over. But let's get it in on the Q&A, guys. If y'all got questions, let me know. I see my boy, my guy EA Ski is up in here, getting it in with the folks. It's true, man. Everybody needs to know their role, man. I wish you would have come. I wish you would have been able to come through and join. I have to get you on EA Ski, man. If you down, man, I'd love to have you on the live stream so we can get it in, chop it up, man. Because I think some of the conversations that we have, like, people need to be able to soak up some of that stuff as well. But yeah, if you down, let me know, man. We definitely got to do this live stream together. Like, maybe I'll interview you or something at one point. Let's see here. My guy in here in IG, Willie Skyjack, he says, what is your best Moog for bass? My best Moog for bass. So I'll be honest with you. I've only owned one Moog. The only Moog that I owned was the Little Fatty. It was like the what was the retro edition or whatever they had with the wood panels, and it was cool. I liked it. It was a classic Moog sound. But what I've used for bass over the past, I would say, 10 years easily, that has given me that Moog sound has actually been the Studio Electronics ATC1. Now, before that, I was using an SE1, which also really has a great Moog type sound. It has Moog and Oberheim style filters. But the ATC1, you got it right, the ATC1 is like by far my favorite thing for basses if I'm looking for that Moog synth sound. I don't really I really don't have a lot of Moog experience outside of the Model D and the Little Fatty. I love the Model D. I love the Voyager as well. The Voyager is good. I love the Model D a little bit more, but the Voyager is a great sounding synth as well. But for me, in my studio, I've relied on the ATC1 with the Moog filter for such a long time. So that's what I vouch for, you know, and I think you can't really beat it for the price and for the sound. Like, it's just phenomenal. Oh, dope. EA Ski said he's down. So one of these Sundays we're gonna get it in with EA Ski up in here. I'm gonna have him in here, and maybe we just do a little session. You know what I'm saying? We'll just chop it up, because he always got some great game for music producers. And if you guys aren't following him, I recommend that you do follow EA Ski, because he is one of the few OG producers, OG hip hop producers that actually reaches back to the up and coming community and really tries to spread awareness and knowledge. So you definitely should be following him, because that's a rarity. A lot of producers can be selfish with their information, selfish with the things that they know, and I think EA Ski is bucking that trend, because he actually cares about music and the direction that the music industry is going in, and wants to make sure that people are understanding the real way to get stuff done. So definitely check him out. My guy in YouTube is asking, is the MV8800 worth buying? I would say absolutely. If you don't, okay, first of all, if you don't already have a groove box that is suiting your needs, I would say check out the MV8800, because it is a powerhouse in a lot of ways. I mean, sonically it's great. It has a lot of modern workflow capabilities that you can't beat in terms of quantization and audio track recording and time stretch and effects, and the quality of it is great. I think that the build is great. It offers some other features like the VGA output, and you can use a mouse with it. It's a great unit. So I think that if you're really looking into something that has that hands-on groove production workflow that's standalone, you really can't beat the MV8800. And I think, like I said, some of the current groove boxes that are coming out now in the standalone market are trying to do a lot of the stuff that this already does. So I think it's highly worth it. Let's see here. Let's see. Right Angle says, I've been trying to sell beats, but I know I'm naturally more of an artist. I have a vision with my music, but I'm trying to make money. Are there better ways than selling/leasing beats to make money? Great question, man. I think a lot of us that are able to write music and produce music kind of get caught up in that too much. And I don't think selling beats is for everybody. I think that selling beats is one way to deal with making money. But you really got to look at what value you can offer to other people in the space of music. One of the things that people need is, songwriting. That's one thing. People are always looking for songwriters. So if you're a great songwriter, you can find ways to collaborate with producers and create income that way. Now, that could be a little bit more difficult if you don't understand how to negotiate with producers and actually build that rapport with producers, because a lot of it is about networking. First of all, you got to have a strong enough network to be able to get out there, or you have to have strong enough network skills to get out there and create the relationship so that you can offer songwriting services to producers out there, because people are looking for things like hooks and full songs and whatnot. So that's one thing that you can do. Another thing that you could potentially do is offer, if you're good at recording, if you're a good recordist, then you can also offer recording as a service, because a lot of people want to make music today, but a lot of people don't understand how to record good music. So that's another way that you can find a stream of income. If you're a great recordist, is you understand how to capture people effectively, and you understand how to make them feel comfortable while they're recording so that they can capture the best performance possible, and you understand how to make everything sound correct on the recording, then I think you can create some income for yourself in that regard. Another way is by being an editor or doing post-production. If you are great at editing, if you're great at post-production, then you can offer that as a service to people that are in need of post-production services. So you got to think about different values that you can add to anybody within the scope of music production or music in general. Hey, what's going on, TC Savage? How you doing, man? What's good with you, bro? But you just got to think about how you are going to add value to people at the end of the day. If you can't add value, then you won't make money. at the end of the day, because people pay for stuff that's valuable. And you can't think that just because you make beats, they are valuable, because a lot of people can make beats. Like I said, it's if you haven't seen this dude, One Sock, like I think he's like 5 years old, he got beats, man. And I mean, he's serious. Like it's not even a game. Like when I see One Sock making beats, I'm like, goodness gracious, like there's no way that some of these producers that's like my age is going to be able to compete with him by the time he gets 15, because he's cold already. Everybody got beats. So that's not the only way that you can provide value. You got to look at what the work is within the actual scope of music and art, and not just music and audio. If you expand past music and look at it in terms of audio, then it becomes a big playing field, and there's a lot of different roles and things that you can do as a person that understands audio, and you can create income that way. But I just gave you a few, but there's a lot of things. You just got to look at, number one, how people are using audio today, what are the main applications, and what are the main requirements in order to get the audio in a place where it actually is effective. So if you understand that, then you can find opportunities and you can add value to people that are looking to do audio production. All right, so let's see here. Okay, JJ, the Martian, is asking some interesting questions. He's saying, what's the best sample rate and audio buffer settings? Because sometimes in my DAWs, I get pops and clicks when I have lots of tracks running, especially when I have multiple VSTs running. Okay, sample rate and buffer settings. Okay, so what happens is when you have a audio interface or some type of audio device that is responsible for sending signal from the DAW to your speakers and also recording signal from the real world into your DAW, it has to use a buffer, which is kind of like a delay to process the information. So the delay is used to crunch the numbers, because like when you're going from analog to digital, there's a conversion that happens. It has to crunch numbers and turn the analog signal into ones and zeros, and then send that into your DAW, and then your DAW is able to use that as audio waveform. The buffer is going to also affect the amount of latency that you feel when you're playing. So usually when you want to record something with low latency you need to use a low audio buffer. If you are mixing, you normally don't need to use such a low audio buffer because you're not monitoring any signal in real time. So you don't really care so much about the delay between what's going on in the analog world and what's going on within the DAW and the digital world. You don't really care about so much of that, so you can increase your audio buffer. Also, on top of that, sample rate is going to change the way that the audio buffer is going to be handled. So usually with a higher sample rate, you can achieve lower audio buffers as well. So to answer the question of what is the best one, a lot of that is going to be dependent on your system and how strong your system is, because your system may not be able to handle 96K with 64 samples audio buffer. It's just, I mean, your system may not just be able to handle that at all. I would say on the safe side, you don't want to go, if you're recording, you don't want to go any higher than 256 really. And I think 256 is pushing it on the audio buffer side. Sample rate, I would say most people that I know don't have systems that are strong enough to run full 96K systems unless they are running some type of TDM system or some DSP-based system that offloads the processing power. If you're using like a distributed system or VSL or something like that, or I'm sorry, Vienna Ensemble Pro, not VSL, Vienna Ensemble Pro, VEP. If you're using something like that to distribute the processing power, you may be able to get up to 96K, but in general, most people that I know that are using like a standard audio or sound card audio interface device, gonna have to use 44.1. You may be able to use 88.2, but I would say in general 44.1 is pretty standard. And 256 is gonna be, I would say, the high end on the buffer. If you start getting lower than that, you wanna make sure that your processor is equipped for that. One of the things you can do though, if you're having issues with processing power, is start making sure you consolidate to audio. That's one of the most important things. Like a lot of people try to keep everything in MIDI in real time, and you have to understand if you're using virtual synthesizers, virtual instruments, that creates a problem because your system has to crunch numbers. It has to do computations in order to generate the sound from a sampler or a synthesizer or a virtual effect for that matter. So because it's doing that, you must be aware that if you bounce that to audio, it's a lot less load, it's a lot less taxing on your system than it would be if you're using it in real time. So I would recommend that if you can get rid of as many things as possible in your session that are running in real time, like freeze tracks, you know that's one of the options that you have in a lot of DAWs now is freeze tracks. So I would recommend that you start freezing your tracks, or if you can't freeze tracks because you're not using a system that can freeze tracks, then bounce it to audio. Bounce the individual parts that are active to audio so that you can continue working. Okay, and when you bounce, you got to make sure that you bounce it the right way because you want to have flexibility. So you want to make sure that you're not bouncing a lot of stuff that has spatial effects like delays and reverbs on top and insertion. It needs to be a parallel in order to give you the flexibility to dial in the amount of the spatial effect, like a reverb or a delay or something like that. So I would recommend that you get into a habit of bouncing stuff down to audio so that you have more flexibility to play with the sound later on. He said, JJ's asking like print out with buses. Yeah, you can use buses to print out stuff, or you can just route it to another audio track. You know, depending on what your DAW is, every DAW and environment is gonna work differently. Somebody's asking me, I think Mr. Bidup and IG is asking me, so do you record at 44, 96 or higher? If I'm recording samples, I like to record at 96K. If I'm recording a record, if I'm recording like vocals or something else, it just depends. Sometimes I'll record 44.1. In some cases, if it requires it, then I'll go 96K. 96K is really nice because the computer actually, some plugins respond a lot better to 96K than 44.1. You can hear some sonic differences in the clarity. You can actually get a little bit more bandwidth. And 96K is, you know, the amount of samples per second that's actually being captured. So basically, when you're recording audio, the audio is being quantized, is being cut up into pieces that the computer can read as digital bits of data. So when we talk about 96K, we're talking about the computer or the interface or converters are actually cutting up the audio, the analog signal into 96,000 parts so that it can create or try to recreate the original signal in a digital format. So if you're using 44.1, you're getting less information than you are at 96K. So I typically, when I'm making samples, doing sound design, I like to start at 96K and then, you know, I can go back down later on and, you know, make that decision afterwards. Styles Tracks asked me, what's the best VST or plugin for G-Funk and West Coast beats? Honestly, at this point, I would say that Machine actually gives a boatload of dope stuff to use for G-Funk. If that's what you're looking to do and you can't afford hardware, get Machine, because it comes, first of all, there's a lot of sound design work that I've done on it. So, you know, I love West Coast stuff. I make sure that stuff is in there in Machine. Machine also comes with a great Fender Rhodes, a great Fender Rhodes keyboard. Machine also comes with a great mini Moog emulation called Monarch. It also comes with some expansions it doesn't come with some expansions, but there's some expansions available like Marble Rims that I worked on with some dope producers like Amplified, Hallway Productions. My dude Day One worked on it. Marlon Williams, the OG Marlon Williams on the guitar, like really dope player that played for everybody. Snoop Dogg, Warren G, Terrace Martin. So that's already in Machine format where you can just get access to it and start working. So like if you're trying to do G-Funk, I would say look at Machine if you're really serious and if that's the sound you want to do. Let's see, got some other questions in here. Co-production, when you use live musicians, Dewey Sonics is asking, when you use live musicians, do you credit them as co-producers, co-writers, or is it work for hire? I would say that it depends on your relationship. In general, though, most people like to do a work for hire if they're simply hiring a musician to replay a melody or some idea that they already gave them. If the musician is not writing music or composing new music for your production, then I would say do work for hire. But if the musician is actually writing new stuff, like, you know, you got them writing new ideas and you don't have any ideas, you haven't brought anything to the table, and they're all of a sudden bringing a lot of new elements that have made the track turn into something better, you know, in that case, you may want to consider bringing them on as a co-writer or co-producer. I would say more so a writer than a producer, because a producer is kind of giving them credit for things that they probably won't get into. But as a writer, I would say that it would be more fair. Like they are also a writer on that track at that point. So that's one way you can consider. But I think it depends on your relationship with the person that you're dealing with, and also what they're bringing to the table ultimately. Let's see here. We got some questions in Instagram. Let's see here. Willie Skyjack says, fellas, the record depth really doesn't matter. The average consumer cannot tell the difference. Tell them F major. So yeah, that's two different conversations, right? First of all, you can't necessarily create things just based upon what the consumer can hear. You need to have the judgment as a producer to know what you're trying to put out there, and if the recording is representing your vision for the record sonically and also just musically in general. So I don't care if the consumer can't hear certain aspects of it. They may be able to feel it, because there is a such thing as psychoacoustics as well. And music is emotional. So you have to understand that there are differences in terms of what is captured and what is felt in the music. And I think as long as you understand how your recording translates to the consumer, then you will have better control over what gets to the consumer and what is useful within the mix. So I don't think you can just look at it like, oh, they can't hear it, so I don't care either. Like, no, you can hear it. If you're a producer, you can hear it. So I would say if you're a good audio technician, if you're someone that understands audio, then you can hear it. And if you got a good ear and you know that this thing sounds better than that, and this one is more appropriate than that for the record, then you need to make the executive decision and say that you're going to use that thing or that sample rate or whatever it is over something else that may just be good enough. You can't be compromising. You can't be the guy that's just like, whatever it goes, because they don't care. You got to care. I mean, we're the producers. They're the consumers. Like they have to take whatever we give them. But if we give them crap or like really crummy stuff, it doesn't matter. You know, like they're gonna still consume it, but you're ultimately not giving them the best that you could have given them as far as experience. And I think it's ultimately our job to make sure that we give the consumer a great experience with the music that we're making. So don't just be like, complacent with just doing whatever just because you think someone else can't hear it. If you can hear it, then you got to deal with it. Yeah, push button producer is saying split sheets is a must. Yep, split sheets are a must, especially if you're doing co-writer and stuff like that. Let's see here. Anybody else? Oh, you also asked, did I collab with Soul Eternity? Actually, I have collabed with Soul Eternity. Me and Soul Eternity worked together on, what was it? A couple expansion products, actually. We worked on True School. Like, I hired Soul Eternity on True School as a programmer. And I also hired him on Platinum Bounce as a programmer. So I've worked with him. I mean, we've known each other for years because we kind of came up in that same rapmusic.com era. So definitely I've worked with him. He's incredible as a musician. I really respect him and his abilities and, all the stuff that he's done, because he's done a lot of stuff in the audio and the visual world. And, he's turning into a real entrepreneur. So I really respect him. But yeah, I've worked with him before. Definitely a dope producer. Let's see here. Theodore Whitehurst in YouTube is asking, how do I get into doing slices like the George Duke Soul Treasures? Okay, understand that George Duke Soul Treasures is a contact instrument. It has a lot of scripting. Like, contact is a sampler, but it also has another layer, which is called KSP, which is a scripting environment that allows you to add features or interactions with the sampler and the keyboards and the other elements of the sampler. So when you start talking about George Duke Soul Treasures, it's not just loops and slices. It is a whole product that has some programming behind it, some scripting behind it. And we developed a certain interaction between the samples and the slices and the keyboard. So it's laid out in a certain way based upon how we scripted it, and it's got product design behind it. So you won't just be able to get into doing something like Soul Treasures without some degree of programming. So if you don't know how to program, I would say if you're interested, there's stuff out there where you can learn about KSP and you can start getting into that, because I think it's a great, people were asking about how you can make money as a music producer. If you know how to code and you understand how to code in the context of music production, then you can make money. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to think about where the work is and what value people are looking to get. So that's another place where you can find a lot of opportunity, is understanding how to use things like KSP to create content, because you can make great content out of that. I'm going to keep going for a little while longer. I usually would stop by now, but I think we have some good conversation. The people on IG right now, you might experience like a short delay or a short interruption just because it's going to kick me off in like a minute and 40 seconds, but I'm going to like log right back on and keep it going. So yeah, anyhow, folks on the YouTube, they'll be able to follow along some more. Let me see here. Let me get another question from IG. Let's see. Mr. Bidup is asking, he says, I have an Open Labs Nico Double XL. Have you ever worked on one? I did work on one. I actually considered one highly around the time that the Gen 5 came out. And I thought it was dope. I thought it was a cool concept, but I thought it was super overpriced at the time for what it really was, because it was and is a computer that is integrated with a couple of other components that you could easily get for, pretty cheap on its own. And I thought that some aspects of the way they designed it in terms of its operating system and some of the ways the components had to be updated were not executed that well. So that's why I ultimately didn't get one, because I was considering to get one You can see some videos like back in 2008, 2009, where I was talking about that. And yeah. So let's see. I'm just going to log right back onto my live stream here on IG. Sorry about that for everybody that was watching IG. But yeah, that's what it is. I didn't ultimately feel like the Open Labs was the right product for me. Let's see here. Theodore Whitehurst is asking, how do I get connected to some people who do code? Use the internet. I mean, seriously, you know, like, I think we take for granted how much great stuff is available to us on the internet, and you kind of miss that you have access to the whole world. Like right now, where you're sitting, I don't know where you are, Theodore, but right now, you can email someone in India that can code something for you for leagues less than it would cost you to get an American to do. And, you know, I don't want to get into a conversation about outsourcing. If you don't like the idea of outsourcing in the global economy, I understand that. I get it. I'm not the one to talk about taking American jobs and none of that stuff. But I'm just telling you that you can reach out to people all over the world for anything that you need at this point, and you can get stuff done. There are sites out there. There are places like Fiverr, and there's, you know, all kinds of different places that you can go to reach out to people that have skills that you can use. You have to pay them, but they have skills that you can use to accomplish what you're looking to accomplish. And if you don't use the internet for what it's really good for, which is connecting with people, then you're missing out on the real power of the internet. It's not just about scrolling, like, and, you know, it's not about all that. Really, start using the internet to connect with people that you need to build your team. That's how you can really get ahead. If you use this internet to reach out, if you say, hey, you know, like I saw like this person is good at this, let me reach out to them and see if they can help me out with my whatever project. And, you know, make sure, like, when you reach out to people, make sure you have some of value to offer. Don't ask them to just do something for nothing, because, you know, a lot of you producers, you ain't gonna do that. If somebody asks you to do something for nothing, you'll look at them and say, are you crazy? Of course not, because your time and your skills are valuable. So other people's time and skills are valuable as well. So make sure you got something of value to offer if you're going to approach somebody to do some work or to create something. But yeah, use the internet, man. I promise you, you can find what you're looking for on the internet. It's not that difficult to find. If you want to find, you know, KSP programmer, type that in. Place you can go. Here's some game. Some of y'all might want to use this one right now. Go to LinkedIn and search for KSP programmers and see what comes up. All right. Start looking at LinkedIn. Like, you know, we don't use stuff the right way sometimes. I don't know what y'all use LinkedIn for, but if you want to find some people that you can potentially hire or bring on, use LinkedIn. Look at LinkedIn. People got full resumes right there with all their information about all the stuff that they're able to do, all the experience that they've had. Why don't you search for that and see if you find someone that has the skill set that you need for what you're trying to accomplish. And then I think you will find that. So check out LinkedIn, check out places like Fiverr, check out just a lot of places on the internet, man. Get it in. Let's see. Doobie Sonics is asking me, what are my favorite keyboards from Yamaha? Favorite keyboards from Yamaha. So I got into Yamaha a bit later. I almost bought the Motif, the original Motif, as my first Yamaha keyboard. I almost bought it as my first workstation keyboard, actually. But I passed on it because I thought that it wasn't the right thing at the time. I didn't know anybody, and this is before I really understood how to really pick stuff. I didn't know anybody that was really using the motif. I knew that everybody was using a Triton, so I ended up getting a Triton for my first real workstation keyboard. What's going on, Mike? I see you up in here. But yeah, I ended up using getting a Triton, and then later, once I learned about the motif, I got to the Motif ES, and the Motif ES kind of changed everything for me. That's when stuff really started coming together, and I was able to make a lot of great sounding stuff. I thought the Motif ES, once I really understood the differences between that and the Triton, the Motif ES had so much better acoustic and electric instruments. Like, it was much better than the Triton, in my opinion. So I think that that's probably my favorite overall. Like, I've done the most work on that. Do I use it for sounds now? Sparingly. I don't use it that much for sounds. I got so much other stuff, but the motif is like, it's always got a great place in my heart for a few reasons. Like, I also did some of my first sound design projects on the Motif ES. One of the first sound design projects I did was actually as just an audio demo producer, or as a demo producer for Yamaha. So like, I have a demo on the Motif ES rack. That's like one of my first professional creative jobs is doing that, and that was a great thing to be able to like go pick up a piece of hardware, hit the demo button, and it's like, that's your stuff right there. It was crazy. But yeah, the Motif ES will be my favorite because of the quality of the sounds, the quality of the samples, and the way that they program that synthesizer, the way that the sound designers really built the instruments, they felt much more realistic than anything else at that time. There's been stuff that has come out since then that has exceeded that in terms of playability and whatnot, but I would say ultimately we're just asking about what my favorite was, the Motif ES. And then, yes, my dude Willie Skyjack just said another great thing. The key action, nobody is messing with the key action, not even by a long shot. Like, nobody's messing with the key action. If you play keys and you're into actual like synth weighted action, nobody's touching like the Yamaha Motif. Especially the ES. Like, the ES had such dope key action, like better than anything else on the market. My dude Young Money says, I want to make this my career. I don't know what you want to make your career. Is it music production? Is it sound, audio? You got to figure that part out. You can make it a career, but you got to know exactly what you want to do, and you got to figure out how to make sure that you can provide the ultimate amount of value within that thing you want to do. You can't just say, I want to make music my career and just think that that's going to happen, because you got to have something of value to offer. But maybe you'll expand on that. I'll wait for you to see if you expand on that or not. Let's see here. My dude Jay Carrillo from Jay Carrillo 16. What's going on with you? Thank you for joining, brother. I appreciate you. Yeah, man. Let's see here. I think I think we'll close it out with that, man. I think nobody have any more questions right now, but I appreciate everybody for coming in and getting it in with me. I just saw this question about Reason 9. I'll probably have to get into that another time, just because I haven't had a chance to really dig into Reason 9. And it's Reason 9.5 really that we really should be talking about with the VST support. But I'll give me some time to really dig into that. As I said before, make sure you check out ultrawest.com. We got a lot of new stuff in the store right now. We got, musical equipment in the store. Like, if you're looking for some like vintage samplers, vintage synthesizers, and new synthesizers, you might find something in there. Check it out, if you're looking for stuff. Also, if you're not already signed up, make sure that you go to ultrawest.com and sign up for the 6-part video course, Sound Mind Sessions. It is a free course designed to help you succeed as a music producer, man. So you got to hear this stuff, man. The information in this free 6-part video course is the business. And I think if you actually are serious about music production, it's no way that you could be sleeping on something that's free. It's very tenured knowledge over 15 years of music production knowledge and experience professionally that has been put into this Sound Mind Sessions course for free. So go check it out, ultrawest.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, there is a link in the video description once this video is over. If you're on IG right now, hit the link in my bio and you can sign up there. All right, it's ultrawest.com. JJ, man, I'm going to put a link in the video description when this is over, but it's ALTRUWEST.com, just like my screen name, just like my profile name. All right, so that's it, y'all, man. We're going to get it in next Sunday. All right, so until next time, I just want to tell y'all peace and God bless.